that has been happening in the last 2 days, and this is a matter that has been aired on our media stations and televisions called Bloodbath Parliament. Honorable Speaker, that documentary was run by BBC World Service, and it's been run through our national media stations. And it captures or talks about the event that happened in June the 25th. A very sad day indeed, tragic and shameful. Tragic in the sense that we lost lives of our fellow Kenyans. Shameful in the sense that democracy of the parliament was about to be infringed. And nevertheless, it has come at this time, a time that we have really moved on. We spoke about that issue in this house, discussed it, sympathized, mourned our fellow Kenyans who passed on during that day. However, it has come at this time again. As much as we agree that our fellow Kenyans lost their lives, unfortunately, but we also moved on to ensure that we reconcile the country as we move on. BBC World Service has attended to this matter in a way that also looked at the Kenyan society or African society as something that discriminatory, sort of, if I may say so. Honorable Speaker, it looked like our media stations also picked it up without questioning how BBC World Service aired the story. It happens world over. People are killed, our people are killed, we sympathize, we moved on. Even world over. Remember, there was the same issue or similar in Capitol Hill. BBC World Service never took the opportunity to say something. It happened in London, they never said it. It happened in many Western nations, they never said it. Above all, there's the killing of women and children in Gaza, and BBC World Service never speak about it. Unfortunately, where 50,000 have been killed so far, especially women and children by a country. They never cover those things. So I think the timing of that report, and it comes at a time when IPOA and other investigative agencies are doing an investigation, and they never shared that with them. Let us not subjugate or discriminate against our own agencies that we think are doing their jobs. It's a matter of us saying, let us ensure that they have capacity to do their job. But let us not clap hands for foreigners who always come and say, this is wrong, what you are doing. Pointing fingers at whatever we do. BBC is a world-renowned station, media station. They have never talked about the genocide that is happening in Gaza, and yet it's a world service. But they want to incite at this time. So, Honorable Speaker, I think why I'm raising this point, because the title itself talks about Bloodbath Parliament. They should have talked about the protests that happened that day in Kenya or Nairobi, but they chose to use the term Bloodbath Parliament. That is to also see Parliament in a very bad light. This doesn't mean that we don't sympathize with our Kenyans who have been killed. We did here. We mourned them. We empathized with them. We sympathized with them. But the timings of this report by BBC World is unfortunate. And it touches on lack of patriotism also on our part, trying to showcase things done by a foreign media. I want to take on BBC World. Please go to Gaza and report also what is happening in Gaza as well. Honorable Speaker, I wanted to bring that to attention of the House so that they are also aware that this is a national matter that is happening in our soil. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, KJ.
Mr. Speaker, this matter that has been brought to the floor by Honorable Bashir is a very critical national matter that we need to prosecute with sobriety as Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, there is no member who would rise on the floor of this House to support atrocities by any uniformed officer against our citizens. And in fact, we are not here to say whether the Kenya Army or the Kenya Defense Forces have done right or done wrong, because it is not in our place to judge them. However, Mr. Speaker, it is not lost to my mind that in the last parliament, Mr. Speaker, this House declined to assent to the renewal of the terms of service and the terms of training of the British Army Training Unit in Kenya, the Batuk. Mr. Speaker, when we refused to sign up and regularize Batuk's presence in Kenya, we took a hitting as a House, Mr. Speaker. But in this 13th Parliament, the Parliament has been able to pass that British Army Training Unit in Kenya can practice and train on our mother soil, Mr. Speaker. However, that was not without a rider. This House put a rider, and the rider was serious, Mr. Speaker. The rider was saying that there is no way that a British officer can end up committing a crime in Kenya and not tried in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, the British Army Training Unit is known to have killed our people. They are known to have raped our women. They are known to have maimed our people. Mr. Speaker, they are also known for serious environmental degradation. And we understand, Mr. Speaker, even in media, that the BBC is funded by taxpayers' money in Britain, meaning that BBC is funded to push the foreign agenda of the British people internationally, Mr. Speaker. And so we must know, is BBC speaking as a mouthpiece of the government and the people of Britain? Or what is it that the BBC is doing? Could it be an attempt to untwist this country so that they can rescind on the rider that we put on their training of the Batuk units in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, and perpetuate a history of extractive economy, oppressive economy, and exploitative economy in a very unfair trade balance between Kenya and the UK. Mr. Speaker, even as we debate this matter, it is not lost to us that yes, there were unfavorable events that took place in the time and the lead up to the finance bill. But Mr. Speaker, that is not what we are debating. We would like to know for a fact whether what BBC is hearing is connected to the riders that this House put on the training of the British Army Training Units in Kenya, where we were requiring that any officer of the British Army, if they are found here in Kenya to have killed, to have maimed, to have raped, they should be tried here in the mother soil, as it would happen even for a Kenyan if they were found on, guilty of a criminal offense in the UK. So that, Mr. Speaker, the issues are clear for Kenyans, because we know there are many issues that have happened in the UK, very many issues that have happened elsewhere, but they did not get the media presence that we are seeing being put on this issue of the Kenyan Defense Forces. And I dare say, Mr. Speaker, that I do not speak this in defense of the Kenya Defense Forces. I speak this to frame the issues, so that even as we are talking about this issue, we know that there could be an interest that is an ulterior interest being pushed with these media reports, because I know as a media practitioner, there is never a news item that appears on a prominent media station that is an orphan. Any media item that comes up on a media station has its own father and it has its own mothers. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and let us look at the agreement that we put down for the British Army to be able to train in Kenya and on Kenyan soil, and the exploitation of our environment, the depletion of our environment, and the cases that we know of human rights abuses that are conducted by the British Army on Kenyan soils. The killing, the maiming, and the raping will not go unnoticed, and we will not keep quiet about this issue. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
On the same, Millie? Yes, Millie?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank Honorable KJ for urging that we speak soberly about this issue. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to speak soberly about this issue. And sometimes when you're in leadership, you have to take the road less traveled. And on this issue, I want to take the path less traveled. Mr. Speaker, we lost many young people. And we have very many young people who are traumatized as a consequence of what happened. Mr. Speaker, it is a point in our country that all of us wish never happened, but it happened. Mr. Speaker, I think we have not handled this issue well, and that is why sometimes you find people from outside are coming to document this. If as Kenya, we were able to acknowledge that things went wrong, and we need to fix it, then Mr. Speaker, even if BBC aired it, it doesn't matter. We have to fix our own problems on our own. We don't have to wait for BBC to tell us there was something wrong. I have a problem with the title that they've given, but which is typical of any media house because they want it to trend and then want it to, yeah. And because of that, Mr. Speaker, they may have given it that title. But Mr. Speaker, we have not yet dealt with some of the issues. We have dealt with some, but one of the issues we have not dealt with is the trauma. Mr. Speaker, I said it when Honorable Elachi lost the son. Mr. Speaker, we have a very angry young generation in this country. And part of the anger is on the issues that we are seeing, Mr. Speaker. And we cannot bury our heads in the sand, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let Parliament take the lead. And let us find a way of helping these young people to heal. Because, Mr. Speaker, we don't know what may come in the next few months, next year, or whatever. And furthered by the fact that we have very many young people who are jobless, who are frustrated. And if these people, I don't know what their intention is. Their intention could be fuel more harm and whatever. I don't know what their intention is. But from the young people that have spoken, it has actually created more anger. We are taking them back to the path that they would rather not walk again. But they are walking it. And we don't know at what point somebody else will fuel it again. You can't stop the media. Somebody else will fuel that anger again. And so for us to deal with it, let this Parliament take that mandate to deal. When we had post-election violence, Mr. Speaker, I was lucky to be in this Parliament, I think we were with you in that Parliament. Mr. Speaker, we set up a select committee. We walked all over this country. And because as human beings, we have a nature to forget. When we thought we had moved on, I remember in one case, we met a woman whose husband's head had been decapitated. She went to her home with the husband's head. And we are dealing with people who are angry, people who are depressed. And going there, Mr. Speaker, I remember today when I was speaking in Parliament, I broke down and cried. Not because of me, but because of what we had. And we think we are moving on, but there are many young people who have not necessarily moved on. Mr. Speaker, personally, I would appeal. And I don't want to sit in that committee, but I would appeal that we set up a select committee to deal with this issue that stemmed not necessarily the finance bill, but the after effect of that finance bill. Mr. Speaker, I humbly agree that we deal with this soberly, and I'd want to discourage us from going through a process which we think may be politically correct. but does not necessarily move us forward as a country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Beatrice Kamei, ask your